So today, which is March, what is today? The 30th, right? I guess. Today, I wanted to just mention a few things because a lot of people are sending me emails, even though we've already sort of gone over this last week as well, and in the announcements, right? So there are not any Connect assignments for this module, for Module 5. It is all you need to focus on is for Chapter 13, you need to focus on the vocabulary that we talked about before, the words in bold, the in-context definitions, plus the concept points that are in the lecture video for Chapter 13. Chapter 14, there's a note outline and a lecture. And for Chapter 15, I believe there are 2 lectures. So I need you to focus on what is being covered from the textbook. I don't want you to spend a lot of time on Connect because in this particular case, because this is probably some of the more difficult part of the semester, unless you didn't have a really great preparation for the molecular genetics portion, which we're already through now. But other than that, I think this is probably the hardest part of the semester, the immune system. If you are in A&P2 or have already had A&P2, then this is going to be easy peasy for you. The tricky part will be remembering it in the context of our textbook versus the context of your anatomy and physiology textbook, because some of the vocabularies, they use the words differently. Rest assured, the main author of our textbook was actually an immunologist, trained as an immunologist, as was I. So that's what my PhD is in. So the vocabulary that I'm going to be using and that your book is using to describe the parts of the immune system and the different types of antigens, although it'll be a little different, as I mentioned, from your A&P textbook, it is correct terminology. So I need you to focus on what is in the notes and what is in the videos for Chapter 13, 14, 15. The quiz for this is April 6th, right? So that's actually next Saturday. Is that true? That might be incorrect. I might need to change that so it's not on the Saturday. And the other thing I wanted to tell you before we focus on that, a note of that though. April what? For the micro quiz 5. Yeah, I'll change that date if necessary. The other thing, of course, is the live bacteria that you should be growing them. I got an email yesterday that asked, should I be starting this? And I thought that before spring break, we talked about timing this out. And then after spring break, we talked about it again, that it was time to start your cultures. If you haven't started them, you need to start them now, right? So it is important because you need enough time to grow the bacteria and actually do all the experiments. And as I've said a couple of times in these Q&A sessions, as well as if you watch the labs in the videos in the Carolina module, it'll take you about 10 to 12 days on the long side. Say 10 to 14 days on the long side, 8 days on the short side, depending on how fast your bacteria are growing and how well you're attending to every day, keeping track and doing whatever needs to be done. So it is time to start those live cultures. That lab exercise 2 through 8, I believe it's due April 30th. So it's coming up soon, a couple weeks. Get it done, get it out of the way is my advice. So I was going to, oh, that's not. All right, let's make you small and really small. And let me go back to Canvas and let's take a look real fast if that actually is the due date on that quiz, because we don't want it to be due on a Saturday.
April 6th is Tuesday. I think you're looking at March 6th. This is a Saturday.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Thanks. All right. Yeah, what was I thinking? April 5th. It's something due in Bio 1 that day on April 5th, and I thought it was a Friday, but never mind. That's what I need to change, something in Bio 1. They have a lab that's due April 5th, and their labs are usually due on Fridays, so that's probably why I was thinking it was a Friday. Okay, awesome. So 6 is a Tuesday. Notice it's kind of a big quiz. It's 60 points. And like I said, I would strongly encourage you to spend a lot of time with these videos and taking notes and studying and reading your book. And these Connect assignments that some people were having trouble with them, they were due the 24th. And for whatever reason, There was some Canvas issues, I believe, and Canvas talking to Connect issues. I tried to just stay off and out of it until it settled down. So you'll notice that I extended the due dates for these to the 2nd of April. So that was in the announcement. And then you guys need to start looking at, if you haven't already, the Carolina Lab Kit Module 2. It's time to get those done, right? So these are the same, I believe, except these are the same, those are the Connect assignments. And I put them in both places so that you would be able to find them. And then I would remind you again that this sample planning schedule is a sample. It may or may not be how it's going to work out for you. Your days, you may do more than this on a single day, but this is sort of a, day by day, best guess of what you could do. Notice day 4 is rather heavy because there's 2 staining labs that day. So it will take you an extended period of time that day. Setting up the biochemical test is relatively quick. And then reading and recording your results obviously will take a little bit longer, right? These preparatory steps here, you'll want to be sure to look at, again, I'm gonna close that module because it's getting just too long for me to get to the bottom. You'll want to watch these Carolina videos, and you'll want to watch my videos, right? Video Carolina Lab Kit Rehydrate, that's me showing you how to rehydrate the cultures. From the safety and the beginning Carolina labs, you should be able to find the videos for how to make, or the instructions, I should say, all in these booklets, right? There's instructions for how to make the alcohol solution and the bleach solution in there as well. And I'm pretty sure I go over that in my first video, but yes, it's time to start doing that and getting those accomplished. So let's see, I think that's it. That's all that I had for today. I wanted to ask, of course, obviously, if you guys have questions about the material from 13, 14, or 15, go ahead, shoot.
Is there a difference between a fomite and a vehicle? I was a little confused.
Well, I think it's splitting hairs, right? So a fomite is technically considered an inanimate object. A vehicle transmission is usually that it refers to an inanimate object directly. So the fomite is the object itself. Vehicle transmission, usually it's put in that context, is that fomite actually transmitting the organism to another susceptible host. In real life, fomites they're not great at transmitting disease, usually, unless they are full of organic material, right? So for example, vomit on an inanimate object, vomit on clothing, on bedding that hasn't been washed and removed. That would be a great place for the bacteria to grow and then potentially be transmitted. So we would call the bedding, the sheets, the fomite, right? But we would consider that vehicle transmission because it wasn't directly from person to person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
But things like doorknobs, ever wonder why most doorknobs are metal, right? Because metal inhibits bacterial growth, which you learned back in chapter 11, right? Heavy metals inhibit bacterial growth and viral multiplication. Viruses can't multiply unless there's cells for them to multiply in. So being able to transmit something from a fomite is usually that fomite has to be really laden with the organism. And usually it has to be usually a short time window between when the sneeze or the dirt was deposited on the fomite and when that second susceptible individual touches the fomite and then ingests or inhales the organism. Right? So contact transmission, person to person, or like direct contact transmission, is obviously much more effective getting an organism from one person to another, especially in close spaces, right? As we're learning from the virus. Most people from the COVID-19 virus, most people are getting the virus from their immediate contacts, not so much out in the wild, right? That does prevent us from bringing it back to our dwellings and our households primarily, and helps protect us when we're actually outside in the wild, you know, in the grocery store or wherever. But that's not where most of the transmission is happening. Most of the transmission is happening in close contact, people who have it and then transmitting it to their contacts, which is why if you have a fever, right, or have any of the symptoms, you're supposed to self-quarantine for 14 days because we don't want you to spread it to somebody, another group of close contacts, right? So, all right, anything else? Yeah, absolutely. I think my book is up here. I was gonna look that up for sure, but it's not up here. I'm kind of getting out of practice because I'm not actually giving these lectures. I haven't given that lecture since fall, so yeah, and sometimes people use words, even epidemiologists use them sort of interchangeably when they shouldn't, right? So it's kind of just more of a technicality. All right.
I don't know if this will help anyone else. When I was doing the lab for the isolation, I had to do several drops of the Serratia because I didn't really get hardly any red drops. So I redid that one. I think you did two, but the directions said one. But I think I ended up doing like 3-ish.
So was it to put it into, I forget the source. So
you like mix that with the
with the E. coli?
No, I'm blanking the L1.
Micrococcus luteus, right? So you just put in 2 drops of Serratia instead of just 1. Yeah.
I ended up, I think, doing like 2 or 3 because the first time there was like one tiny red dot. It didn't turn out like where I'd be able to answer the lab questions.
Right.
I don't know if that happened to anyone else.
So the trick is the Serratia grows a lot more quickly than the Micrococcus luteus. So you're always going to be kind of waiting on the Micrococcus luteus actually to grow. But the Serratia is more sensitive to environmental conditions. So if you have the perfect environment, it grows like wildfire, like E. coli. If you don't have the perfect environment, it grows more slowly. As long as you achieved 1 pink or red colony, you're good, right? So in microbiology, we always say you just need 1. You just need 1 colony. I get it that you wanted to see more of an isolation, and by all means, if you have the materials, right, they provided you with several Petri dishes, more than you need, right? I think they sent you 6 or 8, maybe, I forget.
Yeah, there was a lot extra, I think.
Right, there's plenty of extra, so you can certainly do the isolation more than once, absolutely. Yeah, I think I had to do the same, but again, I was doing mine in January, actually no, just November, December, and it was cold. And especially where I had my fake lab set up upstairs, that doesn't get very warm. So yeah, I had to do that one twice as well because the Serratia wasn't really growing very well. So yeah, certainly it's an experiment, right? So experiment, feel free. It's your kit. Other than completing the exercises all the way through that you need to complete in order to answer the questions, you can do whatever you want with the rest of it, right? Certainly do it again. The staining is a little disappointing, unfortunately, because my microscopes only go up to 400x, and we really need 1,000. We really need 1,000x magnification with oil in order to see individual bacteria shapes. But you should be able to tell the colors of the bacteria, which is a good start. And again, it gives you practice using the microscope. So go through the motions anyway, even though it's, like I said, it's a little disappointing, but it's the best we can do. And I feel like we're really lucky that we did get the microscopes at all. So I know that the anatomy and physiology professors are now trying to set up kits for summer or maybe fall or for summer, I guess, that would contain microscopes because they feel like their students, if they didn't take the microbiology and get the microscope, they're really kind of behind as far as the histology portion, but we'll see. All right. Any other tips or tricks that you guys want to share about the growing of the bacteria? I'm sure your colleagues would appreciate them. I'll try to find, I did have a student, I think I told you guys this, I had a student last semester who made an incubator. I'll put the plans, she sent me the plans. I'll try to find those and put them in the Carolina module. I didn't want to put them in straight away because I didn't want everyone to think that it was a required thing that they had to build an incubator. But if you're interested, have the time and are kind of, or have someone that at your house or a family member that likes to build things, likes to make things, or you like to build things, make things, by all means. Like I said, I'll try to find those plans. I know she sent them to me probably last November. So I'll try to find those and put them in the module as well, but it's definitely not required, especially now that we're already, the temperatures are up in the 50s. So I suspect your bacteria will grow pretty quickly. Okay.